our intros are real shit. We just like get straight into it.
Yeah, no
so
worries.
that's probably the intro right there. So kia ora, bro. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on. And what I'm going to do is just get you introduce yourself, who you are, and why you're here, I suppose.
Yeah. Kia ora, I'm Turanga. Content creator and bass player for Alien Weaponry. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Cool, man. Awesome.
In this lovely space.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming in. And I know that you just got back, last week, was it?
Last week.
Yeah. Where have you been?
We've been in Europe for the past 7 weeks.
Yeah.
7 weeks, finishing off sort of the third of 3 tours with heavy metal giants Gojira, which has been so awesome. And this tour was technically supposed to be finished last year, and COVID split them into 2. Okay. So it was a real push for us to get on this tour because the amount of shows was a little bit too low for what the budget was. But we were like, we can't leave them hanging. We've done 2 tours with them now, and this is just the end one. So we really just pushed it and got ourselves over there. And we actually also just beat the weather. Yeah. We flew out we were one of the last flights out before they closed the airport.
Really? It was like
before
the storms and stuff. Shit.
So got back a week ago. Finally got some good rest and slept in my own bed.
Yeah, nice.
Oh man, it's the best bit.
There's nothing luxurious about living in hotels, eh?
Well, we don't even hotels. We're bus. We're bus
exactly,
for 7 weeks, and then NZ Kai, man. Oh man, the European Kai doesn't hit the same at all.
Yeah. What countries were you in?
So we did most of the UK, and then of course Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then we did sort of France, Germany, Poland, Luxembourg, all sorts of those little places. But this one was weird because it sort of sprinkled in just the last few that we didn't miss. The tours last year were sort of extensive and covered the big ground, you know. Yeah,
nice. Before we get into a bit more of like the creative side, what's it like trying to create when you're on tour?
Well, I was just talking to the bro about it before. This tour was the first time that I really figured out how to do that.
Cool.
Because last year and even the year before, but mind you, last year was the year where my socials really popped off, I guess. It would just be socials, and then tour, none. Yeah. I stopped. Yep. And then I'm just all music and all promo or whatever we're doing for band stuff, and then I come back and then the algorithm's like, where have you been? And you're like, oh god, and then I gotta make all these videos again. Before this tour, I really tried to avoid having to film too much on the road. So I literally filmed like 25 videos or something before I left, and just had them all banked up. And so then as I went through the tour, if I had 10 minutes just to film one more video, just to keep it sort of ticking over, that I managed to post every day, like a couple times a day, because on tour as well is quite good in a way, because you get all your music, the band content to post, live shots and all the crowd, the social stuff that we do for the band. But for my personal stuff, it's the content like this that starts to take a hit. So if I kept both of them up, that means during tour I actually sort of double the content for X amount of period, which is always quite sweet. So I finally sort of nailed it this time, and I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah, that's sweet. Because I was wondering that too, because like it's probably something for like audiences to hear, because one of the big excuses we get from people is like, oh, I'm too busy with the day job, or like I'm too busy with life, or I'm too busy whatever. And I was wondering how it was, because I was thinking like musicians have, like when you're on tour, it's all on, right? Like you're like, not that I've ever been a musician on tour, I never probably will be, but I know, because I know people that like it is just chaotic, and so there aren't really any more busier professions at those times when you're on tour. So when you talk about making it easier, or you managed to do it, so you bulk made some, so that was before you even left. How did you find the time during tour when you couldn't find it before?
So one thing that, at least for where our band is at our current stage, so on previous tours, they're just no time, because that was at a stage where even us as the band members would be loading out and we'd be carrying our own gear. We've got crew now, so we don't actually, us as band members don't touch anything until sound check. Cool. So people are probably surprised at how much time we do have in the day doing nothing, just literally sitting around. But what's hard for making a sort of a nice clear-cut video is the space, and a quiet space. It's the quiet space that's the hardest bit, because if you're in the venue in a green room, you got 3 bands loading in, and then you got the big band sound checking, and then you're sound checking, and then it's just constant noise, and then there's shows being played, and then if you're in the bus, it's full. Our bus had 18 people in it, you know, so there's ruckus, there's noise. Although it was actually the bus that I managed to find that space, because the upstairs lounge in the bus. You can sort of guarantee that during a certain hour in the day, everyone's out working, and the band members are the only ones not doing anything, and they're chilling. And so I'm just like, I'm going to use the lounge, and I film a couple of videos up in the lounge, you know, because we're finally at that point where, as a band member, our days are really empty. It's sort of weird. Like you feel grateful for having a crew and that you don't do any of that heavy lifting, so to speak. But there's so much time, like just doing nothing. And so I was like, make videos, you know, or do something that I can keep up and pass the time away.
Do you find that like creating videos is a drain, or is it an energy like booster for you?
I find them quite easy. Like my style of video though is relatively simple. Like I don't have huge editing to do. Because I run I just started running 2 TikTok accounts. One that now is just for the band stuff. That's not Alien Weaponry's TikTok account. It's just me but music. And I find music content, like music covers, guitar covers, take a lot more work. And they take a really sort of extensive amount of work. But just my usual question and answer format, which is what I normally do, it's pretty straightforward. As long as I got the question, just give me 5 minutes to run through my head what I want to say and take a couple takes and try to do the take with the less ums. You know? And then it seems all right. So those aren't too tricky, which is quite nice. And I've juggled here and there, like, oh, maybe I should try step up the sort of production of the videos a bit. But then I'm like, but then it removes that off the fly sort of on the cuff element of it. So I haven't. And it's still working, so
may as well keep to it, right? So take me back, like, when did you start posting on TikTok in this profile here? And what was that? What made you start?
So it was like 2 weeks after I got my moko done. And I think it was Ngāri no, who runs Te Whare Aio TikTok account. He posted like a moko challenge video. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Because at the time I'd only ever had TikTok just as a consumer. And I said, oh, that's kind of cool. And it's just appropriate now. And I was like, oh, I'll take part in that. And then it just, first video, straight off the bat, blew up, you know. And then I was like, whoa, okay, that's pretty out of it. And then I saw another, it was like a pukana challenge. And I said, I'll do that again. And same thing, blew up. And I went, whoa, what the heck? That's 2 videos now. And then the third video, which was asking, no, not the third video, that video. So I started answering questions, and obviously the main one was, what the heck is that on your face? So I made the video answering that, and that one really blew up. What's that, 11 million now or something? And so that one gave me my bulk 250,000 followers in like the first 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
And then from there, I've just been experimenting and figuring it out. And I would say over the past year, I think I just finally hit 350. So 100, I've
had 100
kept it up to grow 100 since.
What was the date of this one?
So that would have been, if I got this in, it was like nearly New Year's, I think, of 2021.
He we had the bro at one of our Nesian Network events speak to. He's awesome, eh? He's fucking awesome.
A real cool dude.
I remember seeing this TikTok, because I remember seeing this. It must have been around that time, I guess. And I remember seeing it because I remember he caught my eye. Because I'd met him before a few times. And then I saw it, and then I saw obviously these first few. And then I, for some reason, stopped getting a lot of your content till recently again. It only started coming back on my feed again recently. But I think it was just, because our algorithms are fucked, eh? Like because we research so much shit, right? Because we do this for people. Like, my algorithm's completely fucked now. Like, it shows me all sorts of shit. Okay, so you started because of this. What made you keep going? Just because you got the followers? And did that just give you a buzz? What made you, there's only like half a dozen videos there at this point where you took off and you got all these followers. Like, what? Was it just the followers that made you keep going, or was there something else there?
Well, it's kind of weird because it was a mix of, at the time too, we'd just come home from a US tour with the band. It was my first international tour at the time with the band. And obviously our whole kaupapa in the band is spreading te ao Māori with the world. And so this was another avenue for it to show up all of a sudden. And I said, well, I'm already doing this for my job. why not continue it? And then obviously you potentially find your own benefit, of course, having your own following for the sake of the band, and then vice versa. And then it also just continues that kaupapa that we stand for within the band, which is something we've always been passionate about, and I've always been passionate about, but it's not every day you're walking around going, let me tell you something about our culture, you know. And so when the avenue opened itself up, it was sort of like, why not? You know, this is pretty cool. And it was seeing how many questions. You know, if no one was interested, there'd be nothing to make a video about, but so many questions, constantly questions. And while I always say, while it is, and the boys have the same sort of mindset about this as well, it's sort of like, yes, we take it overseas and we show everyone around the world, but it's to inspire those of us here. You know, because it's only so useful having Americans know about you, but really it's just to show that, yes, it's people are interested, people want this, so those of you back home should also want it and be welcoming to it. And then really, for me, what really started to push my passion for doing this was the first time somebody messaged me and went, oh, hey man, I'm getting my moko because of you. I was like, done. Mean. That's it. That's it right there, right? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, on my page, of course, as well, is re-educate, sort of destigmatize, and all of these things to help people reconnect and decolonize in a way their mindsets, and whether that's for Pākehā or Māori or whoever it is, but whenever you get that message from a Māori person, even something simple like, hey man, your videos made me want to start learning te reo Māori again. And you're like, that's it. Bam. That's the whole reason. You know, you could get, I don't care if you get 5 million Americans going, woohoo, one Māori. I'm like, that's it. I'll keep doing this for another week, you know? And they keep coming in. So I just keep going.
Yeah, that's mean as. In terms of that, like audience, where are the audience from? Like in your split, like is it mostly Americans?
It's mostly American, so it's like 50-60% American. New Zealand's actually like 10% or something of my following. You know, it's quite a big split. And they really absorb it over there.
Can you see a difference in commentary from where people are from? Like how does that change in your comments? Like what are Kiwis saying compared to Americans saying? Is there a difference? Can you tell?
There is a difference. I was talking about this on my live stream this morning. I don't want to use the word dumb question. But more often than not, the questions that you would think are really obvious. Or the answers, I suppose, and you go, man, people really think this sort of things? More often than not come from the Americans. Things like the other night I got asked like, oh, excuse me, don't want to be rude, but you speak such good English. Where did you learn English? You know, I'm like, that's hilarious. It's my first language. You know, or the classic, and this is even the Hawaiians get this one is the grass hut. Like if I'm doing my live stream in a normal building, it's like, wait, you guys live in normal houses? You know, and I don't think it's meant with malicious intent. It's just genuine
ignorance.
Genuine ignorance. And so those sorts of comments, 9 out of 10 times you can expect they're coming from an American. It's just how that is for them and what they're told or not taught over there in their system. And normally it's the sort of the questions that are nearly on the ball are coming from here. So like things like, oh, but I got told this version of this story, and you go, oh, it's not quite correct, you know, that's a education point there, and those ones you can guarantee are coming from home. Or our Māori whānau in Australia, you know, because they're just a little bit potentially removed. And so you can definitely see or guess where those questions are coming from.
I would definitely relate to that because I moved away in 2008 and went to I lived all around the world, but most of my time was in Australia, UK, Japan. And when I came back in 2019, the shift I saw in culture here was huge. Like I was like, even just like the way people talked about Waitangi, like just the way they talked about that was so different. I know that there's so much further to go in those conversations, and like channels like yours and stuff help push that, but like even I remember like the way I used to think as a Pacifica kid from out south, what I was taught about like different things around like, you know, like treaty settlements and just like different things and the shit that used to get taught back then or people would say compared to what they say now. I can see how Australian Kiwis would be just enough removed because you weren't here. Like I was literally 3-hour flight away.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I knew when I got back. And that took me on a big journey. I mean, it's why we created the Ninja Network that we created for Māori and Pacifica businesses, because I was trying to discover that. Because I was like, wait, what was this? Like, I thought it was this. And people were like, bro, it's like you're straight up racist now thinking that. Like I don't care that you're half Cook Island. Like you're straight up racist thinking that. Like, and I like went on this massive discovery about it, like thinking, shit, like that isn't told enough. So I think it's pretty cool, like, because then I think TikTok allows that to happen, right? Like allows it, like this sort of conversation on Facebook would have been all hateful remarks to you,
and
right?
it is,
yeah.
You know, like so that's one of the places where I will consistently get negative commentary is Facebook. Yeah. You know, Instagram is normally all supportive because it's predominantly your followers, and TikTok's a mixed bag. TikTok, if it goes really viral, is going to have the balance because there's just so many eyes on it. But even Facebook, for just low numbers, there's going to be someone going, hey, you know.
It's just so hateful there, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I hate going onto Facebook, man. It just like, you're just like, fuck, you got anything better to do? This kind of thing. But it's like, we find on TikTok, like, there's very little hate. Even when it goes real big, and there's always going to be a percentage that's people being dicks on it. It's still a small number.
It is.
As a percentage, right? It's still really tiny. Okay, so in terms of your band, how did they feel when this started happening? Like, what was that conversation like with the boys in the band and stuff, and when all this started to kick off?
Yeah, it was interesting because what was really surprising about it, of course, which kind of got us all off guard, is that the majority of that new follower had no clue about the band. That's a whole new audience, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the boys are sort of quite publicly not huge fans of social media, so they don't really post themselves, and they try to keep relatively quiet and outside of what we have to do for the band, their personal socials, they'll post a little bit on tour and that. But so it was lots of stuff like, oh, make sure you put the, you know, plug the band, and this and that and this and that. And I was like, well, you know, it's not exactly the focus of this page, but if it happens naturally, you know. And then I would say probably 6 months in, you started to see the oh, wait a second, are you an alien weaponry? You know, like the audiences were finally starting to cross, because it's not totally far-fetched that if you are a fan of the band, that you're going to be looking for Māori information if you are not educated in it. And so then I started to see that crossover happen. But it was quite weird, because since we don't really get recognized outside of our music world. Obviously, when you're walking around a festival, someone's going to go, oh, alien weaponry. Or in the city that you're playing a show in that day, you're gonna bump into your fans. But on the day-to-day, we don't really get too recognized. But all of a sudden, I was now, oh, you're that guy on TikTok. You know, you're that guy on TikTok, TikTok guy. And now it's sort of, I can guarantee I'll be recognized somewhere at once or twice, you know, which was quite a shift from what we were used to. And particularly with this, our usual, all the boys in the band, we have a sort of a stage look. Lewis gets his locks out, and he's got the camo pants and no shirt. But then you get off stage, you put on a different pair of pants, you put a shirt on, and you tie your hair up.
No one knows.
People are like, who's that guy? And when I used to have really long hair, and I used to have that out on stage, and you couldn't even see my face, and then I tie it up and put my glasses back on, I could walk through the crowd, and no one knew I was on stage, you know. Now it's a little bit, like that, right?
Love it.
And now it's like,
you
know, that's the guy with the thing on his face.
Yeah.
So there's no hiding anymore. You know, it's zero anonymity, which is to be expected, of course. But it was quite interesting getting used to it. And it's particularly weird when, and the boys always make fun of me for it if we're together. And someone goes, TikTok guy. And it's like the whole band is right there. And they're like, you know. So they always think it's kind of funny.
But they're super supportive of it now, obviously.
Well, you know, it is. And it's allowed me, because not that social media was ever really my thing. I just kind of figured it out. But not that it doesn't come naturally to me, I guess. I find that sort of managing it relatively easy. So what I started to sort of do was offer the band to help with the band stuff. So I'm like, I make all the band content on the road until we can afford to have someone to do it, you know, and just help out with that sort of thing. So then they're like, sweet, you know?
Nice.
Which I'm like, that doesn't really, not too much extra work for me because I'm already doing it for myself.
Yeah. And that, like, it's funny how you say that the two worlds collided, because like, I don't think it was until Chris told me that you were an Alien Weaponry that I even made the connection. Yeah. Like, I didn't even make the connection. I was just like, nah, this guy's awesome, bro. Like, and he's like, nah, he's an Alien Weaponry. Oh, true. Okay, cool. Which is awesome. I mean, and so that brings me to my next point about the band, like, so promoting the band and stuff. Like, have you seen much, like, now that it's starting to, the worlds are starting to collide, like, has this had a real impact on, like, I don't know, like the songs being played more, or you getting more people at the concerts or anything like that?
That one I wouldn't be entirely sure of, because we haven't truly done our own headline run, right? So all the shows we've been playing are either festivals, which, you know, we played Hellfest last year. That's 60,000 people. Yeah. How many of them are coming from TikTok? Who knows, right? And then we've been running the Gojira run, which is their own shows. So you can safely assume most of them are there for Gojira. So we haven't really been able to gauge it, I don't think. And I'm not entirely sure that if anyone goes to follow me for the band, that they even end up then carrying that forward to follow the band, or they just expect to get that content through me. Like, for example, if I'm managing the band socials during the tour, this recent tour we've done, and say I think the band upped like 2,000 followers or something on the tour, but then my Instagram in the same span with the same content did 4,000, right? So it doubled just on my page. So, but of course I'm posting double the content because I'm posting my own stuff. So it's this weird sort of, I don't know if people are looking for the band and then finding me. Also, because my name on Instagram has Alien Weaponry in it, where all my other accounts don't. That's because my Instagram was made for the band at the time. So I was to be associated with the band. So there's potential that because the followings are similar, that my name pops up first. So new followers are going, oh, that's the guy that I just seen on stage, and click follow, and then they don't actually follow forward to the band. Who knows? You know, it's hard to check that pattern, but I definitely know that in the same span, relatively the same content, I doubled the followers that the band grew. We both grew, but so I don't know where that sort of gap comes from.
Why it's there. Do you mind scrolling to the top, Chris, while you're there? So in terms of like your own personal brand on here and what you've built, like, have you, like, does this generate you any income itself? Have you ever had people reach out and do stuff?
I have. So right there, I just recently actually posted something for the census. So for Census NZ. Cool. So they approached me months ago to do the first video, and then they just approached me a couple of weeks ago to say we'd do a follow-up video. You know, mate. So videos like that, and I did stuff for Ministry of Health and Ministry of Youth Development, all relatively revolving around Māori and Pacifica. Kaupapa, you know, and those are sort of from TikTok, I would say, is where the lump sums come in. So they'll pay X amount for X amount, and then if they like it and it does well, they'll come back again for more. So that's where I started to sort of see really, well, I say significant, but significant to compared to I was working in a bar before that. Exactly. So significant paychecks, but very periodic. Right. So it's not every week you're getting a new video. It's maybe once a month or something. But that's where I really started seeing. I was like, oh, okay. So there is money in here, of course. And then there was things like TikTok Lives and the gift system on TikTok Live. So which I actually didn't even know about when I started doing the lives. And I started doing the lives because I realized they were a great way to bring in new followers. Because out of all the many, many lives, of course, all of a sudden you scroll and some dude's got drawing all over his face. You stop for a second and you go, whoa, what the heck? And then you ask, what is that? And then I go, if you want to know more, hit follow or whatever, right? And so I started to realize it was a good way to interact a bit more personally with people, and that relatively easy. Because I was telling the bro before, from the band, we do interviews that you just talk about the same stuff all day long when you're promoting the album and stuff. So I'm happy they're talking about my face for an hour if it makes people follow and then come in for more sort of then to take that education further. But then, of course, turns out you can earn money doing that with the gift system. So I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So not that I really encouraged it though. So that sort of is a very, I'm not there trying to ask for it, I suppose. If people are happy to do it, they're happy to do it. But as long as I keep doing it, it obviously opens up the potential for people to be giving it. So some days you get nothing, some days you get quite a lot. It just sort of is a thing. But I always think, you know, hell, maybe $500 at the end of the month I didn't have at the start of the month. And so where I always say with people that the income comes from that sort of accumulating all these little bursts. Because then it was things like Patreon. Make a Patreon. So then that's another, say, $500 a month. And now you got 1,000 a month, roughly, for example. And then stack it, and then Twitch. And then if you get a census video, and then that's X amount. So then like, oh, there you go, you know. And then I further reached that out to then my own products. Right. So I'm an artist. And that's what I was doing at university and stuff. And I was like, oh, I guess I could bring my passion for Māori art back. So then I made a website, took the time to sort of build a website and get a sort of a brand start to happening, you know, and then made a bunch of artwork and art prints and then released them for my followers to purchase, which was step one. And then they did really well. And I was like, whoa, dope, you know? I was like, cool. So then that's utilizing that follower to make your money yourself, I guess, rather than having to rely on other ones. And when you've got that following there already, mind you, I would say that predominantly come from Instagram. But it doesn't matter. Only a fraction if you make enough. And then just to get by. Because then, of course, it's all for me personally supplemented with the band, which is the main job. So I don't currently need this to be my main income. So it's just a little bit extra, which I'm like, cool. If it means when we come home from a tour and like a weird short tour like this, where it's probably not the biggest money-making tour, that you got money when you come home, so you don't have to go get a normal job if you don't want to. Some people are happy to do that.
Yeah, no, that's
awesome. Telling the bro, I didn't drop out of university to go work at a cafe.
Right?
So I was like, I might as well make something of it.
And we were just talking about that a few months ago, Chris, like just how many bands or band members you know who are like school teachers or like working in bars, and it's like the fucking New Zealand music scene.
Bands that are headlining homegrown on Saturday and working full-time jobs.
No, it's tough.
It's
crazy, so brutal. And like that's one thing I think that really... It's never questions that come up enough, you know. So like, it's not something like we could probably talk about it on band socials or something, you know. But people probably don't want to hear it. But it's not what people think it is, especially today. Like with the realm of streaming and that, money income is just and when we have things like, so for example, on this recent tour that we had, the headliner band were getting flack online for their merch prices. But I don't think what some people don't realize is those venues take 40%, 35-40% of your merch at the end of every night for doing nothing. You know, they've taken all your T-shirts. And for most people that don't know, for a band today, at least heavy metal and the rock world, merch is your money. People are like, oh, but you sold out. Nope. No, that's sold out. That's gone to your manager, your promoters, your production, and Gojira particularly run a hell of a show. Their stage show is so impressive. That's it. That's the money gone. They're probably, I wouldn't know, but they're probably cutting into merch with that production levels. Like, and so then you got your venue taking 35% of that merch, and then VAT, which is like 15-20%, and so they're going home with less than 50% of their own money, which is then has to be divvied amongst band and crew and you know all those expenses. So the money is not even for those huge bands. The bigger the band, the bigger the production. So they think, oh, but you're big and famous now. You're selling out 20,000 cap venues, but you guys want a bigger show. So it's taking more money, you know, and all the little mosquitoes that want to take that money as much as they can, you know. And it's tricky because it's almost like a symbiotic relationship where there's lots of chatter online about bands sort of striking against there's certain venues that they're kind of like a organization. So like venues can be run by this sort of overarching company, and those ones are always the ones that people are like, we need to stop playing shows there. But those are the ones that will sell the most tickets, and they're the best venues, you know. So it's this very weird, like, how do we change it, but without they lose their job, but so do we.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really
hard,
tough.
right? That's that whole blow up with Taylor Swift a few months ago. Like even Taylor Swift couldn't fix it.
Yes.
You know, like if you're that big and you can't get Ticketmaster on your side.
Yeah, exactly.
Like how like the small band's gonna do it, doing 20,000.
No, it's really tough. And then the one thing that then throws another log on the fire in a bad way for us is traveling halfway across the world. So for us, even what we might have left is then to fly 3 band members to Europe.
Yeah.
You know,
especially today's world.
Yeah,
those
exactly.
prices.
Yeah, post Ukraine and stuff as well.
Exactly.
So we, you know, the other guys, when Gojira finished their tour and they live in France and we finished in Germany, they're like, oh yeah, I'm home in the morning. You know, we're like, oh cool, we're 35 hours away of travel and very expensive flights. You know, so with all our gear, you know, we rack up a hell of a excess baggage fee as well. Yeah, so by the end of it, you're sort of like, not so glamorous, folks. Not what you'd expect, you know. And we're not even remotely in the upper leagues of band income either. We're still relatively small, so to speak. You know, it looks great when we play these festivals, but on a headline show, we're definitely not running huge numbers. So it's tough. You know, the boys more often than not just come home and go cafe or something, or maybe the tour will pay us for the money we get from a tour might hold us for a couple months. So in a time like this where we're writing, it's really just good. We go, okay, we've got 2 months to just music, and then once the album's done, we just go get jobs and hold out, you know, until the next one.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that like, you know, you can play to 20,000 people, yet I'm gonna go make coffees for 200 people tomorrow. Like like that's fucked. Like just to pay my rent.
Yeah,
you know?
No, it's really weird.
Crazy.
And even on the road, you know, we basically live on about $50 a day.
Yeah.
Or 50 NZ a day because it's like 30 euros and stuff. Yeah. You know.
You know what's real crazy about that, right? Is there are people backpacking Asia on more than that a day. Right? That's fucked up because like you got all these people who will complain about your merch prices. Yeah. Yet they'll go backpack Asia and spend, and they're like, oh, my budget's $200 a day. Yeah. It's like go live with the band that you won't even pay for their t-shirt. You know, like I always found that really, really crazy about like, it's not just bands. It's like, it's a lot of things where like people who are famous or like, you know, you have big followings and audiences, like you don't earn anywhere near what your reach deserves, right? And I do this presentation that I've been doing the last couple of weeks about our reach as attention seeker, and we're averaging like 10 million views a month on TikTok, and so that's 2.5 million a week. And you know when you go, yours is probably somewhere similar, right? Well, the New Zealand Herald gets 1.8 million a week, right? Like it's like a 160-year organization, that's multi-million 9-figure business, and yet like you get more reach on what you do, and someone will pay 50 grand to advertise in the New Zealand Herald for a week. Yeah, and that's where I so I had our brand started on LinkedIn. It was my personal brand, and I went into the real business world because that's where it came from. And then TikTok came about because we got Joni, and then fucking everything took off on that. But like I started to get introduced to this world, which is why this podcast started. Of like, you're getting the same amount of viewership, roughly, let's just give it cooler there, as like the largest newspaper in the country. Yeah. Yet like people, like you don't have to say how much the census paid, but I probably know roughly, and it's like a drop in the bucket to compare to what they would have had to pay NZ Herald for less viewership. Yeah.
Well, it's something I had to, which is a great point, because I sort of thought about that one day going, the first time I was approached to do something like that for a minute video. And let's just say like you might get maybe between 1,000 to 2,000 for 60 seconds of video. And when you first see that, you're like, what? And you almost want to go, oh, you don't have to pay me that much. That's crazy. But then you think about, well, but then you especially if you think on a really grand scale, like the Super Bowl, and you hear what they pay for a 30-second ad on the Super Bowl, and you go, oh, actually, you know, and if that video happened to cover that much ground, then you really are getting a sort of underpaid, I suppose, you know, and it's a peculiar thing. And so you really have to sort of, at first you feel bad for then agreeing to those sorts of money, or then when it's quite good if someone else sets a sort of precedence for you. So then when you get asked later, you can go, oh, well, the last one I did was this much. And you don't need to feel weird about it because they offered it in the first place. So then now that's my rate. But it is weird. Like it takes some getting used to, because in your what you're used to, it feels like such a way too much for what the work is. But then you think about it on an advertising standpoint, you go, no, they spend money on advertising. You know, they do.
And that I think that what you just said about like, oh, I got paid that last time, so I feel comfortable about paying it this time, getting paid this time and asking for it. That mentality of you've just let that other person dictate your value.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like you haven't even got to dictate your value. You let the last person dictate your value.
Yeah.
That's the thing I found real fucked up. And I guess coming from like a real like I came from hospo, so I used to run hotels and stuff for a living, and like that's a real cutthroat world. Like when you're running hotels and like everything's margin, because it's not like big tech companies who have massive profit margins. Like hotels are tiny, and so everything was hustle. Everything was like you got to make bank. Like you have to. How do you push it? And then when I heard this, I was like, how do we? Like there's no way a hotel would let other people set their value. Like you've got to control that. If you don't, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And so that was the first conversation I had with Joni, and hearing her stories and things like that of what she'd be paid, which is pretty similar to on par with where you're at, like same thing. But then what I said to her is like, if Saatchi & Saatchi or FCB, one of these big advertising agencies, got the census ad, which one of them would have done an ad for census because it was everywhere, they probably would have charged $1 to $2 million to make it. And then the talent that they got into those ads, who are nobodies, they would have paid them like 30 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, eh?
And then instead they go to you and they're like, okay, I don't know what your census one is, but let's just pretend it's something else.
Yeah.
They go, hey bro, here's $2 grand. Can you strategize a TikTok idea? Can you then go film it? Can you post-produce it? Can you distribute it through your own channels?
Yeah.
And here's $2K.
Yeah. No, it is weird. And it's like when I really started to sort of break it down, I was like, man, that is whack, you know?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's sort of like, you still got to figure out like, oh God, what could you realistically? And I guess because the other problem is that lack of guarantee. So I was telling the bro before as well. In the past few weeks, my numbers, for whatever reason, I know the algorithms had a little bit of a shift, but my numbers have really boosted up all of a sudden. And so then, of course, for people coming in and if they're looking at the page and they're going, oh yeah, his numbers are doing good, you know, so we need to we want to run a campaign or whatever using him. And then if you look at that pattern, all of a sudden I post the one that has the ad and it drops again. It's gone right back down because obviously the algorithm's not dumb. Yeah. Algorithm's not dumb. It's like, never mind, let's tank it. And so then you go, wow, you feel a bit weird because if you then actually asked for like, oh yeah, I'm going to get 1 million views, you pay me this much, and then it does that because the algorithm's not dumb.
It knows.
TikTok knows.
It knows.
Then you're like, well, maybe then the number's fine because it hasn't done as much as they probably would have guessed it was, and we potentially know as creators like it's not going to do what you think it's going to do, you know, because of that algorithm that it just knows it. As soon as it sees that ad or as soon as you put a link or say link in bio, all those little things, it's like never mind, not interested.
Just completely kills it, right?
Yeah.
And especially and that's a dumb thing with that world that we find is that like we know, like they should know, the people paying you should know that's going to happen, but then they still give you a brief. No, you still have to have these points, you still have to do this thing. And it's like, okay, the moment I do that, the moment I make your ad, that's it. Yeah. So you're going to pay me, what's this, like, let's say it was $2 grand.
Yeah.
They're paying you $500 per 1,000 views.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. Like no one would pay that for an ad. Like you can go put an ad on TikTok and get $10 per 1,000 views or whatever.
Yeah.
So like the way that we've always been approaching it lately is like when we're talking to people, is like you don't get any say on the creative. All you get is that there's brand association. And like when you look at YouTube, the YouTubers have been doing this for ages, where like they have brand associations with Audible or Brilliant or Skillshare or whatever it is. Yeah. And they are still getting those massive views because we're starting to as like consumers understand that that's a thing. Where it's not, you don't just make one video and that's the ad. Like it's incorporated into their videos. And the best guys like Mr. Beast, if you look at him, like he fully makes the ad part of the video. He doesn't do a sponsored segment. No, he doesn't do that. It's like this is fully part of the show. And that's like what we've been saying. Like we did one not long ago for our scheduling software that we did, and I said to him like, you're paying me a fee per 1,000 views, but the only way to get the views is let us do whatever we want. We're just going to have your brand associated to it. I mean, and it ended up doing 240,000 views. Like for an ad, that's fucking cranking for an ad. So then they paid us $20 per 1,000 views on that. So like that was the deal we brokered. The only way to do those deals is you can't give me a brief. Like, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
You don't fucking know. And if you do want to do a brief ad, then run it as an ad, like put spend behind it.
Yes.
And that's a bit different for you because you could potentially be okay with them boosting that on your profile.
Yeah, well, that's what I've started asking now. Like in the fee, I'm like, do you just want you do want to put money behind it to boost it? Because I was doing stuff for the Ministry of Youth Development, and I did like 3 or 4 videos with them, and the first 2 did really fine, right? And then the second one though, that something happened, and they were like, oh, can we give you some money then to then boost it yourself, you know, just from your page, and then it just runs fine, and the numbers run up fine, and it does what it does because you're paying it like an ad, right? And it's fine, and I get my money, and TikTok gets their money. So I've started asking that now. I'm like, do you want it to be organic, which is not going to be organic because you got a hashtag ad on the front? Where if you want a hashtag ad on the front, then put money on the ad so the numbers to work, you know, and it'll do its thing, and
that's it. And you know, when you're doing brand partnerships too, if you do it that way, if you got like channel sponsors for what you do, right? If you could do that, like, and there are going to be brands who want to associate themselves with you. If you find the right brands to associate, you almost don't need the hashtag ad in it because you're saying in your bio, you're saying as part of your brand, like I'm a like Michael Jordan doesn't have to always go hashtag ad because he's got Jordans on.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Because
exactly.
that is his brand.
So it becomes a part. Like I always think, and I always joke about it, but it's something in the grand scheme of things I should probably potentially try to look at. Is I get asked all day, every day, what brand are my glasses? All day. Whoa, where'd you get those glasses? What glasses are those? Ray-Ban this, Ray-Ban that. The amount of times I've said Ray-Ban, and the Ray-Ban better start dropping me invoices. For, like I've said Ray-Ban so many times on my content, and there's no ads. No. I'm like, they could just be giving you your ad money in the background, but that's not an ad.
No,
you know,
it's not an ad.
That's just organic me saying, oh, Ray-Bans, I wear Ray-Bans and this and that and this and that. And it's like one of the most common questions I get, you know, other than what's on your face. Next one is, what glasses are those? What's on your face?
What's on your face? Oh, you're talking about these?
And so you sort of think like, man, you know, if you had that sort of exactly what you said, just a sort of a continual thing. And
have you ever tried reaching out to them?
I haven't yet. It's things I'll look at doing.
Do you have someone managing it? Managing your...
No,
you're just doing it
So
yourself?
I do everything myself.
Cool. Yeah. Because then, I mean, again, it's like the venue's taking 30%.
Yeah. No, at the moment, I sort of manage it by myself, and because we're not totally busy on the road, with being on the road, I've got the time. For now, for the next 8 months, I'm at home, so it's just there, sit, make videos, you know. I have had help from our management, like on advice and things, like because of that business realm of it, and them, I'm sort of going, oh, is this normal? You know, like, does this sound right to you? Like from approaches, and they'll go, yeah, that seems relatively normal for what you got, or no, you know, that's way undercutting you, or things like that. So that's quite helpful to have.
Yeah. That other thing about hashtag ad too, like, can you just click on the link tree, Chris? If you think about the band, if you ever talked about the band, technically, according to the law, the link tree on his profile. Sorry. Sorry. You know, technically, if you talked about you got a concert coming up and it's pushing a band, like technically against the law, according to the law, that's promoting something, and so your audience needs to know it's an ad. Or you're selling your art or whatever it is. Like all of that is technically ad, but no one's gonna go like the IRD aren't gonna come at you for that, or like, oh no, it's not IRD, it's the Consumer Commission or whatever. I'm gonna come at you for that because it's like, oh no, that is part of who you are. Audience should know because you're signed to this band or whatever. So that's why I think like it's that same gray area when you're a sponsored athlete, right? Like let's just think of it that way. It's the easiest way for most people. But like if you get Ray-Ban to like fully sponsor you as your person and it's everywhere on your things, there's no hashtag ad anymore.
No.
Never.
Yeah.
And like I actually think it's a fucking great partnership deal. Like I reckon Luxottica, who owns them, would be fully in on it.
Yeah.
Because like everyone who watches your channel is looking at your face.
Yeah.
That's your whole channel. It's literally your whole channel. Like, of course, you're talking, you're doing stuff, but, like, your face is so recognizable because of everything you got going on. Like, and they're the center of your face.
Yeah.
Because, like, I reckon you should 100% be reaching out to them.
Yeah.
Just keep handling. Fucking just make TikToks and tagging them in. Go, fucking give me the sponsorship. Get in touch tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it's because it's, and I broke my usual pad literally just a week ago, and so for the past week I've had my old backups on. And again, that's all the comments. Not who cares what I'm talking about? What happened to your glasses? Where's the Ray-Bans gone? You know, where's this and that? I'm like, man, people really do be focusing in on those sorts of things, you know. So I'm like, man, you're gonna pay me a couple of videos. I'll wear 3 pairs of Ray-Bans if I have to.
Yeah, bro, I reckon like one way to do that, like where a lot of like creators who are doing it for themselves aren't very good at, is jumping into platforms like LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn everyone's job title is first, right? So the people at Ray-Ban or Luxottica who are doing this, are like their titles are like brand manager, brand director, brand partnerships or whatever. They've always got brand somewhere in it. And you just go message that person. Just like, oh bro, this is my TikTok. Like I want to have a chat.
Right.
That's it. And like we did it the other day, right? Like I said to you, hey, I got to go get some things. And I just went out to a whole bunch of massive brands, like 10 of them, I think. And I got calls with 8 of them.
Right.
Like, and all I did, like they didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I just like, here's our attention seeker TikTok. I want to chat about partnerships.
Right.
And so, I mean, we got one of them already done and dusted. And I think 4 more of them we're currently in negotiations of what that looks like. But people like overcomplicate the process.
Right.
Like they all think, oh, you know, like it's kind of like you saying before, it's the mindset of you saying, oh, I should be able to charge this now because my last person. It's like you're letting other people set your value.
Yeah.
When actually you have to think of yourself as a business.
Yeah.
And in business, you have to do sales.
Yeah.
And do you know the guy, Lewis Davies, the father on TikTok? He's got about 1 million subs, and he has him and his daughter. And
yeah.
So he put in a real good way, and he says one of the reasons why that's hard is because he's like, Stan, it's like we could all go fishing. Like we all could go catch our own fish, but some of us just want to go to Countdown and get the package stuff.
Yeah.
And that made me really click, like, because I'm always like entrepreneur, like, oh, I gotta make money. How do I fucking sell? And so those guys who want to go to Countdown, he was trying to say, I'm the guy who wants to go to Countdown. He's like, I just want a brand, talent management, just give me the deals and feed them to me. But he understood that means he makes less.
Right.
That means he makes less. The fish isn't going to taste as good from Countdown as if you caught it yourself.
Yeah.
But I feel like with you, like that's a whole nother thing, right? Like there's an entrepreneurial like streak here.
Yeah, well, it's because it's one of those things where it's sort of like, I would never think to approach nobody. You know, I'd be approached, sure, but I would never think to be like, oh, yo, Ray-Ban, what's up? You know, but if I saw the email from Ray-Ban, I'd be like, it's about time. You know what I mean?
I've been waiting.
But so then it was sort of like started to think about what are the things that I do that I could do myself by myself that could maybe make me money. Yeah. And then I remember one day I was just posting drawings on Instagram just for fun. It was like just having a doodle or whatever. And everyone was like, oh man, you should sell art. And then I went, oh, I should sell art, you know? And then I thought, well, then what is it also that people follow me for my content is Māori. And I do have a passion for Māori art. So I said, bam, there it is. Let me start trying to figure out Māori art. And that's I literally only started this a few months ago. Just before Christmas, really. Cool. And then...
these are wicked.
It worked really well, you know? And then I was like... oh, yeah, okay. And then, of course, you get the next one, which is T-shirts. Where's the T-shirts? They take a little bit more work, though. You know, this I just do myself. I went to the local gallery in Whangarei. I said, hey, how do you guys print your artwork, you know, and how do you ship it off? And they said, oh, you just get this, and this. I said, sweet, right? I'll make myself a website, get the art, do the art, of course, and went from there. And it worked really well.
Do you pre-make these or print to order?
Print to order.
Yeah, cool. Perfect. Yeah. I mean...
which is much easier.
Yeah, much easier. Yeah.
But then, of course, the only problem with that currently, or because they're hand-signed, is so when I'm away on tour, there's none. So that was the next sort of so for like 4 months I was like, whoa, look at all this art I'm selling, and then I was like, oh wait, sorry folks, I gotta go. And that was right around Christmas, you know, people all had this Christmas money and they were like, where's all the artwork? And I was like, sorry, I'm like not even physically there to ship them to you. And currently, because I'm just doing it myself, there's not a sort of a print on demand system currently that they can just order and it just goes out. But of course they want them hand signed, so they still need me for the hand signed part of it. I'm working on then making art that's just not hand signed, that people can just have that is cheaper or whatever, and then figuring out the t-shirt thing, you know. But then that's just within the realm of what I have knowledge in, which is art and design and from university, and that was one of my passions. I was like, why not start start doing that,
Yeah.
just as a way to try supplement some extra, not necessarily consistent, but money that you're controlling.
Yeah.
That's just coming into me, and I do that and pay your taxes. And
Gotta pay your taxes. Definitely do that. I was gonna say because like there are print on demand services. The hardest thing with print on demand is like controlling quality.
Exactly.
That's the hardest thing. And like if you want to have it as a premium product, you really are giving up that quality.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, you just can't control it. One, you can't sign it yourself. Like if you do a true print on demand, like when we did our t-shirts that we did I don't know if you ever saw, but we did a joke t-shirt that we sold as like a piss take on ours. And we had 55 people bought it off that one video, and it was like $90 for a print-on-demand T-shirt, and it was totally shit. But like the good thing was, it was like it took me an hour to set it up and had it go, and it was live, like straight away.
Exactly.
Bang, put it up, 55 people. So like for us, it's nothing in terms of we're a business, but like for a small creator, 55. If you could do that once a week, and you're pulling in 5K and your profit margin's 20-30% on it, like that's not bad. Like making $1,200 a week.
Yeah.
But quality sucks. That's the one thing. I mean, you can do it like with good tees. Like in Australasia, you can do AS color, so you at least the t-shirts are good quality.
Yeah,
but
that's who we normally use.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the band, we print everything AS color for the most part. And
exactly.
I use the guys here in Auckland, that the band uses for this stuff. But of course, when you do it that way, it's that same deal. You got to hold the stock and you've got to do it yourself, which is just more work to do. Which is fine if that's all I did. I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. But then same deal. Well, I can't ship off any t-shirts when I'm on the road, and then. Squarespace have their own integrated print on demand, and I was sort of like, ooh. But then you order them, and I was like, that's all right. It's not as good as the other one. You notice that, but if you're not gonna bump up that profit margin, if you're willing to take a little bit less on the profit, but potentially if people are just like, cool, t-shirt, and we know from band merch what t-shirts move like, and you're like, well, I mean, I guess if it's a stepping stone, and then as you move along and potentially, of course, if you're really thinking forward, if I stay with the band for a long time and the band is obviously always moving merch deals, you can then start, because you're in contact with some of the biggest merch companies in the world, you can be like, oh, by the way, we also, blah, 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 and then you could be like, oh, yeah, cool, start up a separate relationship and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
But just for getting it, because I don't even know, might put out T-shirts and then 20 people buy them and you go, cool, never mind then. Back to artwork, which more people bought. Or it could do the opposite and you go, okay, maybe it's worth looking further into then upping the quality and those sorts of things. So it's all about those stepping stones, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And learning.
And learning
it's really relatively new to me.
Yep.
I was the sort of person for the most part that was relatively content just taking the money from every week from whoever paid me, going to work, doing my thing and going home at the end of the night and doing my own thing, and that was fine. But it was when like I said, I didn't drop out of uni to go back to a cafe. So then I was like, how can I make this if the band is not quite generating revenue because of COVID and that sort of thing yet? What can I do that allows me that more freedom, which in theory was why I dropped out of university, because I was like, I'll not drop out of uni to go to a cafe, like I said.
Exactly.
So, and then the socials blew up and I went, all right, I better try lock into that as soon as I can. And here we are.
Yeah.
And so last year, I think, was the first year I went the whole year on my own income.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Fuck,
so I was
that's
like,
awesome.
whoa. And I didn't really realize until I got to the end of the year and you're talking to the accountant and you went, oh damn, I really did.
Yeah.
I didn't work at any here, or I didn't have a month on wins or whatever it was, it was like, I was like, damn, that's a whole year I made my own money.
Awesome.
I was like, so that feels pretty sweet.
Fuck, that's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah. What, like, you don't have to give me exact figures, but ballpark wise for people to hear, like for you to be able to do this full time, what did you have to get around ballpark?
Well, I have a couple sort of, I guess, privileges or benefits, which I used to live in Wellington. Yeah. So if I still lived in Wellington, which is what I originally wanted when I joined the band, would have been much harder. Yeah. It would have been much harder for me. But where the band is based is 5 minutes from my childhood home. Oh. So I was, Mom, is the beard still available? Pay a minimum rent fee. Yeah. I cook my own kai, buy my own kai, and do that sort of thing. So pay them the power and and a little bit of board, I suppose. But really, so my weekly expenses are pretty low. Yep. Band is also 5 minutes down the road, so I'm not tanking heaps of gas. Nah. I don't go anywhere. Yep. So my general expenses were quite low, so I could really just keep my money up, which is good because we always say, like, when you're living on $50 a day on the road, you want to have as much sitting in that bank account before you go on tour, because you never know what you're going to need and when you're going to need it. And we have a couple members in our crew that the first week they're out.
Oh, really?
You know, and they're living a couple days behind.
Yeah,
they're a couple days behind for the whole tour. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, tours are already tough.
Yeah.
So for me, if I just go and have a little bit extra money so that I can make things a little bit more comfortable, you know, we have a day off in the town, I'll go buy myself a hotel room, get a bed, get a proper shower, you know, that sort of thing. It's nice to have those comforts. So I don't necessarily need a general living wage to live in my current situation.
Yeah.
But, you know, the band is moving up, and I'm sure we'll be thinking about trying to move the band on a wider scale. So then that's going to change, of course, if we move to Auckland or something, or even overseas if it gets really in the need for that. You know, I know there was discussion of things like, God, can we really be flying every time this far away? You know, is it beneficial for now while we don't have the money to be living somewhere else and then juggling all that sort of thing? So, but no, it's good. But it's still even when I say I did a whole year of my livable wage, it'll be at the bottom, the bottom brackets and stuff. You know, like it's not people being, oh, you got so much money. You know, I'm like, no.
but I love that actually, because like that was my approach starting this business. So when I moved, I had a pretty good career, and like, not to take that away from it. Like I moved here after running hotels for a long time, but I moved back and I said to my partner Claire, like, we need to go like super cheap, like to the point when my first, it would have been, so I moved here October 2019, and I didn't start renting till June 2020. And what we did in that meantime is like crash that family. We did what's it called, house sitting. So we just house sit dogs and shit while people were on holiday. And then obviously COVID hit, so that stopped, and we had some mates who were like, because we were house sitting, they're like, oh bro, we've just bought a house, come crash with us over the lockdown. And it was after lockdown we had to get a place to rent, but the business had started to take off by then. But the reason we did all that real cheap living is because it meant all the money you earn, like from whatever you're doing, you can reinvest and like grow that thing. So like, I think a lot of people, when they get into this, they're like, oh no, I need more, and then I'll spend it all. And then they'll just blow it. Like some of the bandmates might be doing when they're going into band and stuff. But like, you being smart, going, nah, look, I only need this, which means that you could focus on what's the long-term approach. Because otherwise you get into like I think the print-on-demand stuff is a bit scummy. Like, it's not right. Like, there's some that are good, like, but it kind of like, it's real inauthentic, right? Like, it's real shitty. Like, it's, especially when you're doing art, that's a whole nother thing, right? So, like, my advice on yours is like, the association to a glass company, like glasses, even if it's not Ray-Bans, even if you got another company who can make them look the same, right?
True.
Just do it.
Well, because when I had to get these repaired, you know, they were like, oh god, we nearly don't sell them anymore. And I was like, man, I need to get someone to make. I was like, what happens if I break these again? Ray-Ban no longer make them. I need to make someone make the octagon glasses that are now one of the sort of trademark features of when people go, where'd you get those glasses?
And it would be so easy to get them made. Like, it wouldn't be hard. Like, there'll be some company that could just churn them out for you. Quality is a different thing, but actually, like, let's be honest, like, Ray-Ban's quality, like, isn't that much better than the knockoffs anyway.
Oh, I could snap these, right?
Right? So it's like, they're just glasses, right? Like, that's what Luxottica. So Luxottica, I don't know if you know, but like, they're the parent company that owns pretty much all the glasses and all the glass companies, and they make all the glasses for like Dolce & Gabbana and Prada and all those sorts of guys. They've got the whole market on monopoly. Like, there's no reason why they wouldn't jump at a chance like this.
Right.
And I reckon that they would, if brand association, the way they like to be pitched is cost per impressions or cost per clicks, right? So back on that, if you go back to that LinkedIn link tree, do you track data on these?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
So that there, like this stuff here, like being able to find out how many people actually bought merch through you, like eventually getting that full tracking, that data, being able to go to like Ray-Ban and say, look, my own band merch, which I never get asked about, gets this many sales. Right. I get asked about these every single video. Yeah. Put a link here. I'll tell you. I can get you similar numbers. So cost per click, people will pay like $50 to $200 a click. So that's a click through to their website. Yep. Whether or not they buy is not your problem. Because that's their problem to get their website better selling. But like, the way you do cost per clicks is like Google ads and stuff, right? So like, what I always say to people is like, you got to speak in the language that these people know, and these people know like impressions or clicks. And like cost per clicks, you can just go industry standard for CPC or cost per click for e-commerce brands.
Right.
And there'll be a Google article. There'll be something out there say, oh, it's $40.
Yep.
And then you go, oh, look. So according to this thing, this is a pretty much a standard thing. I can get you this many clicks. I'll happy to invoice you post. You know, like every month I go, I got this many clicks to your thing, so you invoice me for this much. And then, so that's one way. Or the CPM one is like, it costs per 1,000 views.
Right.
And we just go $20 or whatever per 1,000 views.
Yeah.
And you can do the same. You can do pay post. So you go every month, I got you this many views in the videos you're tagged in.
Yeah.
So therefore you owe me this much money. And that starts to add up real fast.
Yeah. Well, because I know what I think the top link is probably my artwork.
Yeah.
And I remember what those numbers were when I would start, like if I was on lives, because TikTok lives, and that's where they ask about the glasses, gets a lot of instant clicks.
Yeah.
Because one of the other common things I get is, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
And I got 3 answers. I got band, I got music, and I always say artwork.
Yeah.
And I say link in the bio, right?
Yep.
And you can see that you get that, or even Squarespace will send you a message. Oh, spike in your activity, and you can see this. And I remember when I was first doing it, you get big clicks. Not necessarily translate the thing, but if it's a pay-per-click, there's a lot of clicking happening.
100%.
You know, and people go straight from that because it's all right there, and that.
Yeah.
It's quite a good way to do it through live. You know,
100%.
they just go boop boop because they got to click your profile anyway if they want to follow you, and then while they're there, they go link, and they go, oh, artwork, boop, you know, and it just tracks right up. So you put that right at the top, Ray-Ban.
100%, man.
You'd probably rack in numbers.
Bro, you should even check out Amazon US if they sell them on Amazon US.
Oh yeah,
because if they do, you just sign up to the affiliate program for Amazon and put a link in, and you'll just get. You don't even have to ask Ray-Ban. You'll just get paid. Amazon will just pay you a commission. And like knowing how much margin they put on Ray-Bans, right? Because like Ray-Bans, like when Luxottica bought Ray-Bans, they literally like 5x the price. Right. They just did it, right? Because like they now owned it. But you could like, they're probably paying a pretty big affiliate fee for that. So that's another way to look at it. Like just go, oh, these are my glasses. Like that's what all the YouTubers do, right?
Yeah.
What's that going off? You just like put affiliate link top, do the live, see how many people go over. You don't even have to get a deal.
Yeah.
It's free to join the Amazon affiliate program.
Yeah,
you can sign up in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, right.
And then you just boom, takes off.
Yeah.
So those things, those are all real good. Like I think that like if you've got a niche like that people are like always asking for and it's part of your brand, like I think it's an awesome way to do it.
Yeah.
Like we had stuff in here that we had sort of talked about, like you as Tara Cash guy and like Leisha's Sheen Queen, like because of like we used to do these fit check things and people like they got known as that because that's where all their clothes were from. Those things there would have been real easy to monetize that way. We wouldn't do it because it's not really our brand. Like we don't really do it that way. But like for creators, getting people to buy small transactional stuff to support you like is super easy. But what you want to do is you want to make it scalable as hell. Yeah. So you don't have to sign everything and do all that sort of shit. Yeah. But I was thinking actually like, and we're going to start wrapping this up because it's 4:15 and I don't even know if I've got another meeting right now. I'm going to blame the French again. Is, bro, like, because you talk about like Te Ao Māori, like, and that's your brand, not alien weaponry and all that sort of stuff. Like that's your brand. There are there is ways of selling that content as well, which is quite good. Like we've been talking, like, so one of our clients is that company called Vidzing, and they help you create your own Netflix channel. And I reckon there's like a real need for like, say you and the bro before, what's his name again? Sorry.
Ngāti no.
Yeah. So like getting people like him and like building a library of like teaching people stuff where you guys own it. It costs you very little to build it. And like they sell bundles of like courses on like teaching what you know, even like you did one on art maybe, and there's one on language or whatever. Like it's pretty normal to sell a course for $99 to $300. Right. And who's got it?
Yeah.
Just shit like that, right? Like people will 100% pay for that stuff as blocks. And so they've got a creator who's got way less followers than you on he's on Instagram, but he's only got 30,000 or something. In his first few months of working with them and selling these $300 packages, he made 50 grand.
Right.
Like, what made it once, sold it.
Right.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, and that's like the big number stuff.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
fuck that guy. That was awesome. Like, I was like, that guy's legit.
Yeah.
And we're like, we've got a large New Zealand creator who signed on with us. She's got about 1.9 million followers, and we're about to build one with her on dressmaking, right?
Right.
And I was saying to the guys, like, we'll get 10,000 people over. From 2 mil, we'll get 10,000 people over.
Yeah.
That's $1 million. Selling it for $99 a pop. She's currently making, I don't know. I don't really know, but it's nowhere near that.
Right.
It's nowhere near that. So that's one way of doing it for you guys. Like, you already make content, you're already good at it, and like partnering up with the right people where like you have a full channel and they buy blocks from you guys.
Yeah.
That could be a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
But I also think I think the Ray-Ban thing's fucking on fire. I think that's fire, man. I reckon you could 100% get 5 to 10 grand a month.
Yeah, no, it is wild how often that question is asked. It still makes me go like, man. And the funny thing is like no one ever seems to have seen the glasses. I'm like, what day was it that I walked into the glasses shop and found these glasses? I'm like, they're pretty cool. Yeah. But you know, Ray-Ban's a big brand. Yeah. It's not like they're not out there, but nobody knows. Like, where the hell did you get these crazy glasses? There's some alien bloody frame of glasses, and I'm like, well, it's just Ray-Bans, and everyone's like, Ray-Ban.
Right, I'm straight up after this call. I'm going to go find the people you need to talk to, and I'm going to send them to you. I'm just going to go, get on LinkedIn. I don't even know if you're on it, but just fucking
I don't even really know what that is.
Just make a profile, bro, and just get on there and do it. So, like, a lot of people, I always talk about LinkedIn on here too, because like a lot of creators don't use it because they're like, it's shit, it's boring. Yeah, fuck it might be, but everyone you want money from is sitting on there. Right. Every single person. Like all the people who run brands and are brand managers, they all have their career, because it's a careers page, right? Mm-hmm. It's your career. But it's when Microsoft bought it, they really turned it into a social media. Like it really is a social media now. But you can like you can just message them directly, and like 9 times out of 10, like for me when I'm messaging them an appropriate message, they'll reply. Right. Like they'll reply. You do that on Instagram?
No.
Never.
No way.
Not gonna happen. They're gonna be like, fuck off, bro. I don't know who you are. Which is hard for us, like for this podcast, like getting people on, because like we have to message them on Instagram because there's no other way to message. You can't message on TikTok and things like that.
It's tough too.
You just get no one because none of you guys are on LinkedIn. So you can't message you, which is fair enough. I get it. Like LinkedIn's content isn't as fun and entertaining as this. Right. But like, I'm 100% going to do that. Bro, I'm just going to straight up do it. You just put that same profile photo on your LinkedIn. Yeah. And then you just message them, be like, guys, this is what it is. Give me some money. Yeah. Like, you don't even have to ask for the sell in the message. You just message them and say, hey, look, I wear these glasses. This is my TikTok channel. Put the link in the message that you send them. And you just say, I just want to chat to the right person about potential partnerships. I'm self-managed. Yeah. Yeah. And they get it. Yeah. They know, like, they're business people. They get it. Yeah. Yeah. And you just have the conversation. Yeah. And in that conversation, you just don't sell it. You just ask a bunch of questions like, what are you looking for? What do you usually do with influencers? What other campaigns have you ran? I've watched some of your other content. I've seen that you're putting massive spend behind these videos, because you can easily tell when they put money behind. Right. Because engagement's like 1%. Yep. So you can easily tell. So you go, oh, you got 10 million views on that video. That would have cost you probably 50 grand to get that. Right. 100 grand to get that. Yeah. Like, why don't we have a conversation about that? How effective was it? What if you brand partnered with me? We signed a 12-month contract. I'll lock you out from any other like glasses companies and stuff like that. I mean, they own all of them. Like Luxottica, literally. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. And then if that just goes south, as in time, when time comes, like, because it's going to cost you, but you just find a supplier. You just put your own, just go, I made them myself. Just make your own ones. But I reckon you could. Like, it is a drop in the bucket for Ray-Ban to go, bro, here's 60 grand a year.
Yeah, might as well, right? Give it a shot. And that's the thing, might as well try. They can say no.
Yeah, they can say no. Yeah. Yeah. And look, they might even just go, like, some of the brands we're talking to, so like, without shaming them on here, but like some of the big brands that we're talking to, they just said, look, first round is gear. Like, we're going to do contra. We'll give you gear for that. Yep. Because we don't trust that this will happen. Because we've done with influencers before. We haven't done brand partnerships. We've done ad stuff and it bombed. Yep. So for the money you want, we don't trust it. And so I said, fine. Yeah. Like, I said, with intention that you go on to the next month. If we hit your metrics, we get the second month, you have to commit. Yep. So you could do that too. Like they might just send you a bunch of glasses. You might not need that many, but like
tripped out. Man.
Yeah. Just like look at them all. Fuck it, start selling them. Just put them on Facebook Marketplace.
Where do you get those glasses? Right here.
Yeah, right here.
Link in bio.
Yeah, link in bio. Yeah. Fuck, that's not a bad idea. Probably only cost them $8 to make them. Yeah. Give me 1,000 pairs. We'll be sweet. Yeah. Anyway, bro, we've gone way over, and there's so much more I want to ask you.
Oh, no worries.
But honestly, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Like this was cool.
It's been sweet.
It was a real different
chat.
conversation too to like some of the other guys we had on, which is cool because like we've got so many different types of guests. But I'm going to send you some things, and I'm just gonna say, bro, let me know how you go. And honestly, like one of the things about me asking people on here is like trying to find a way we can give value back because I appreciate you coming on. But also, if you do get a call with someone, like hit me up. Like more than happy to like walk through what you're going to say or how you're going to pitch it or whatever, right? Like if you're like, Stan, fuck you just got me a meeting with the fucking global brand manager or Ray-Ban.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. But 100%, like even if you want me to like, even if it's online cool and you just want me to jump on with you, I do it for the sport. Like I'm 100% like Chris knows like I love sales. I'm in it for the sport of it. So even if that comes to that, you just say, Stan, fuck you, you're on this with me. And I'll do it with you, bro. Like 100%. I'll do it with you. It'll be cool. All right, brother. Thank you
very much.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.